I want to focus today on trying to help you understand what it means to have good dynamic posture, how we can use walking as a litmus test to understand if our posture is good and where movement's breaking down. And I'm going to place an emphasis on the feet, which is our primary base of support. If our base of support is not solid and we don't have that good foundation, then nothing upstream can be in order either. So we always got to start from the ground up. So I've written this blog post, which I'm going to run through. It's beautifully illustrated, and it's going to really take a deep dive into this concept. All right, let's begin. When your feet are weak and collapse inwards with every step, it creates a chain reaction that ruins your entire posture. This makes sense because the feet are what supports the entire body while standing, walking, running, squatting, and all other weight-bearing movements. So if you're not strong and stable, nothing above them can be either, causing your posture and movement to break down as a consequence. So we can clearly see what happens at the ground level here, and there's this cascade, like a domino effect. The feet overpronate, the tibia, shin bones internally rotate as a consequence of the inward overpronated collapse of the feet. The thigh bones then follow suit. This causes an anteropelvic tilt that causes hyperextension of the lumbar spine, and then the upper back or thoracic spine has to compensate by rounding over. So we myopically focus on the upper back and we say, oh, your shoulders are severely rounded over. You've got this forward head posture. So put your shoulders back and get your head neatly stacked over your spine. But what we don't realize is that's the final domino in this whole cascade. Really, the root cause is down at the feet level. If you can fix your feet and that first domino doesn't topple over, everything else has a better chance of being aligned. So this is the way I want to see it, going down to the root cause. So there are 3 steps you need to follow to fix your feet and maintain perfect posture. If we're going to start at the ground level, we need a roadmap. What are the steps that we need to take in order to ensure that our feet are always functional and they set that solid base? So step 1 is to build strong foot arches. Let's start with the problem. When your arches are weak and collapse into overpronation during movement, they pull the ankles into eversion. This destabilizes the knees, which shift inwards into knee valgus. So you can see our overpronate. As a consequence, the tibia pulls inwards. This causes a knee valgus, so this inward collapse of the knees. So this is a very important issue with knee pain. Because the feet are not stable, they overpronate and the knees dive inwards. And this, now you try and load the knee on every step out of this optimally aligned position, and you end up with wear and tear of those ligaments. ACL tears, here we come. So this valgus alignment puts the knee at a serious risk. ACL research shows that people who overpronate are significantly more likely to develop ACL injuries because a collapsed foot can't properly stabilize the knee. Knee valgus also creates a weak position for the pelvis, making it harder to keep the spine in good alignment and increasing lower back strain. So remember, the knee, the top part is that thigh bone that shifts in, that ties into the pelvis. And so when you lose alignment of the thigh bone, the pelvis dumps forward. That causes the glutes to switch off and causes an arching of the spine. So a study comparing 50 people with lower back pain to 50 people without examined their feet. They found flat arches in 58% of those with back pain versus just 18% in those without. Statistically, people with flat feet are over 6 times more likely to have back pain than those with higher foot arches. This study absolutely blew my mind because no one's talking about the connection between lower back pain and our feet. You know, everybody's segmenting the body and just hyper-focused on the lower back. Oh, that's where the pain is. But the reality is that where the pain is, the problem is not. One of my favorite biomedical scientists, Dr. Ida Rolf, she said this. You've got to look at the body as a system. So in this case, we can see people with flats and foot arches that don't have that solid base have 6 times more likelihood of developing lower back pain. And it makes total sense. Without a strong foundation, how can you expect anything above it to be strong and stable either? Okay, so we understand the problem. We understand that domino effect now quite clearly. So what are the fixes? Well, we've got a short and long-term fix. The short-term solution is to wear arch-supporting insoles. They act like a brace, blocking the feet from collapsing inwards on each step. Studies confirm their short-term effectiveness in improving foot posture while standing and walking. So you can see we recommend this 3/4 arch supporting insole. I'll drop links down below. But there's a problem with this short-term solution. If you wear arch supports too long, your feet get weaker. A 2020 study found that 12 weeks in arch support reduced intrinsic foot muscle strength by 14.7%. And now that's counterproductive if you're trying to build arch strength. That's why it's a short-term solution. You want that immediate improvement in your posture, but you can't depend on it long-term because they will reduce the intrinsic foot muscle strength because you're having to rely on an external support instead of your own inbuilt structures. So we have to sort of in parallel work with a more long-term solution. And that's where foot strengthening exercises come in. A 2024 study compared arch supports alone versus arch supports plus foot strengthening exercises. The group that strengthened their feet while wearing supports showed significantly better results. So that's that multimodal approach. We want to get immediate benefits from the arch support, but in parallel, we want to start strengthening in a controlled way our feet with foot strengthening exercises so that you no longer need the arch supports anymore and you build that internal arch support. So here's how the multimodal foot strengthening approach works in practice. You'd start with arch supporting insoles for immediate posture improvement. Then you would begin a basic foot strengthening routine simultaneously. Then after that, you would transition out of the arch supports gradually from day to day. So you'd start off every day you're wearing arch supports. Then you would go to 2 days on, 1 day off, then 1 day on, 1 day off until you no longer need them. So the idea is that you would start to gradually use the arch support less and less until you no longer need them. Currently, I just use arch supports as a recovery tool. So for instance, I started playing paddle a few months ago. And that, sprinting, changing direction, put quite a lot of strain on my feet. Even though I'm constantly doing foot strengthening exercises, it's a different stimulus. I'm not switching direction and sprinting all the time. And so I'd find that the day or two after the paddle games, I'd find that my feet were quite sore. I'd put in a pair of arch supporting insoles, and after a day or two, I would feel that my muscles would recover, the plantar fascia would calm down, and I'd take them back out and then go into my barefoot shoes as normal. So the idea is that eventually they just become a recovery tool that you use intermittently. All right, step 2, restore ankle mobility. So this is the next step in building a solid base for optimal posture, dynamic posture while you're walking, squatting, running, jumping, any type of activity. So each step requires enough ankle dorsiflexion to let your body travel over the foot into the next step. When you don't have that mobility, your gait breaks down and your posture goes with it. So you can see during terminal stance, as my body's traveling over the supporting foot, I need good ankle dorsiflexion. If I don't have it, compensations start to happen. For example, the first thing to break down is the feet below the ankle. They spin out like a duck and the arch collapses into overpronation. Your body is trying to borrow ankle range from the foot, essentially turning the midfoot into a second ankle joint. So if you notice that you walk like a duck, this toed out gait, this can be a very clear indication that you've got tight ankles. The body's trying to find a workaround. How do I still get the job done? Well, what it does, as I mentioned, the foot spins out and you start to collapse through the midfoot. Essentially, the midfoot becomes like a second ankle joint. The ankle's borrowing range of motion from the foot because it doesn't have enough. All right, so because the body weight shifts to the inside of the foot, the knee follows the same direction and travels inwards, falling into that dreaded valgus alignment. So once again, the knees, because they no longer have a good base of supports, the foot's collapsed, the knees then dive inwards into that valgus position. Moving higher up the chain, the thigh bone also falls inward, causing the pelvis to tilt on one side and drop on the other. So now we see this lateral pelvic tilt. Okay, that pelvic drop carries real injury risk. Research in runners shows that for every 1 degree of pelvic drop, injury risk increases by 80%. As we can see, an ankle problem then becomes a foot problem, which becomes a knee problem, which becomes a pelvic problem, which becomes a spine problem. And so again, the dominoes just all fall. And it doesn't even stop there. When the pelvis loses alignment, the IT band gets stretched on the stance leg, causing excess tension that can lead to IT band syndrome. So you can see now it's an IT band problem. Then hip extension gets cut short, limiting glute activation and forcing the hamstrings to compensate and overwork. So if you've got chronically tight hamstrings, if you suffer with hamstring pulls and hamstring strains, again, this could all be from an ankle issue. The lower back starts to side bend and hyperextend, creating spinal instability. So you can see the dominoes just continue to fall. A study on army recruits found that those with the tightest ankles had 2.5 times the injury risk of those with average ankle flexibility and 8 times the risk compared to the most flexible group. So once again, just like the flat feet and back pain group, we can see that ankle issues also increase our injury risk by many multiples. See how an ankle mobility problem becomes an alignment and posture problem, which leads to injury. Okay, so now we want solutions. There are 3 main solutions. First, you've got to transition to zero drop footwear. When you wear shoes with elevated heels, your ankles are held into plantar flexion, which causes your calf muscles to shorten over time. Short calves block ankle dorsiflexion. So you can see the raised heels lift us up onto our toes, the calf muscles shorten. Over time, they get adaptively short, so they no longer can lengthen back to their normal position. And now whenever you need to dorsiflex, whenever you need to get your body over your foot during terminal stance of walking or get down into a deep squat, it doesn't have that flexibility anymore. Now, zero drop shoes are the answer. They put the foot back into neutral and let the calves lengthen to normal. So they stop restricting ankle range of motion. Second way to improve your ankle mobility is to strengthen your foot muscles. When intrinsic foot muscles are weak, they can't stabilize the arch. The larger extrinsic foot muscles around the ankle have to compensate. They get overworked and tightness sets in, blocking ankle mobility again. So just to break this down, we have the intrinsic foot muscles, which are local to the feet. They derive and end in the feet. And then we get the extrinsic foot muscles that derive higher up the leg and tie into the feet. And these work together to stabilize the foot. But if the intrinsic, the local muscles are not strong enough, then what ends up happening is the bigger muscles upstream in the leg that tie around the ankle have to now do extra work to try and compensate for the weakness in the feet. Well, they get overworked, overburdened, and they start to get chronically tight, and they end up blocking ankle range of motion. So you need to strengthen your feet with daily exercises. As they get stronger, the muscles around the ankles can relax and lengthen, giving the ankles their mobility back. So that's the basic premise. Let's try and restore this balance between the intrinsics and the extrinsics. Let's try and make sure that they're helping one another and they're working in unity. We don't want the one to dominate the other, because then we end up with compensations and possible restrictions. Okay, the third thing to improve ankle mobility is to practice positions that challenge your ankle's full range of motion. A deep squat requires full ankle dorsiflexion. Chair sitting doesn't, but modern life keeps us at chair height, so the ankles seldom bend past 90 degrees. The same with the hips. And when it comes to ankle mobility, it's a case of use it or lose it. If we never spend time in full range of motion movements, we lose that capacity. And the fix is to simply spend 5 to 10 minutes a day in a deep squat, even broken into short holds. In Eastern cultures, where squatting remains the preferred resting position, people maintain excellent ankle flexibility well into old age, proof that daily practice preserves joint function. Children, they rest, they play in a squat. That's why they have perfect squats. They have no mobility restrictions. As we get older, we spend less and less time down at the ground, less and less time in these full range of motion movements, and eventually we lose that capacity. So we've got to make a point to get into those positions. Okay, then the third step to improve our foot function so that we can maintain good posture during movement is to restore proper toe splay. The third foot characteristic you need for a solid base that supports good posture is toe splay. Which foot shape would you rather have? A diamond shape where the toes pinch inwards, or a triangular shape where the toes fan out? Well, I hope you chose the triangular shape. And by the way, this is how babies' feet look. The widest part of the feet are at the toes, whereas most adults, the widest part is around the midfoot. Okay, a triangular shaped foot comes from having proper toe splay, where each toe is aligned with the metatarsals. The metatarsals are these bones that run through the midfoot. This good toe alignment allows the connected muscles to also rest in optimal alignment and generate maximum strength to support the foot arch. That alignment, paired with a wider base toe splay creates, lets the arch hold their shape and support your whole body in good posture. I can explain it to you like in a bicep curl. We have the most strength when our hands are supinated, and that's because the bicep in a supinated grip is in perfect alignment, and so we get maximum bicep contraction. Now, with a diamond-shaped foot, the toes are misaligned and the base narrows, hurting the foot's ability to stabilize the arch, so it collapses into overpronation on every step. So what happens with the diamond-shaped foot is not only is the base of support narrower, which inherently reduces stability, but it would be the same as turning the arm in the bicep curl into a pronated grip. Now what I've done is I've twisted the bicep, I've taken it out of optimal alignment, and now it no longer has mechanical leverage to contract at full capacity, and so we lose strength. That's why if you pronate and you do bicep curls like this, you're going to find it very tough to lift a lot of weight. As soon as you supinate and you realign those muscles, you now can have an amazing contraction in that bicep. Research confirms a clear connection between toe misalignment and flat feet. There's a very strong connection. Most of the foot's intrinsic muscles are connected to the toes. So as soon as we narrow the base of support and we pull those muscles out of alignment, they no longer have the strength to be able to support the arch. How toe misalignment ruins your gait, because it goes even further. There's even more dominoes to fall over. Misaligned toes also limit toe mobility, which directly impacts your posture during movement. When we walk or run, we rely on full toe extension, okay? There we go, extension, to push off the ground efficiently and reach full knee and hip extension. So there's the knee and there's the hip. This coordinated push-off is called triple extension. All right, so this is triple extension in action. This is how we utilize the muscles in the lower leg, in the quads, and in the hips to propel us forward. If the toes don't have enough mobility, it disrupts this chain by limiting knee and hip extension. When these joints are limited, the quads and glutes can't produce as much force. So you can see I'm not getting proper toe dorsiflexion. The knee is now bent, it cannot extend, and the hips cannot extend either. The body then compensates by using the lower back extensors more, leading to lower spine hyperextension. That overextended lower back, often identified as a ribcage flare, shows up on every step, especially during running. So if you find that when you're walking and running, you tend to be in this overextended position with the ribs flared out, this could be the root cause could be all the way down at your toes. I ran a quick experiment to demonstrate the effects of toe alignment on toe mobility. Using a goniometer, which is just a fancy measurement tool to look at the degree of range of motion in a joint, I measured my maximum great toe mobility with a toe in perfect alignment versus out of alignment. The difference was significant. The aligned toe gave me 30 degrees more range of motion. So you can see I got basically 90 degrees of range of motion here, whereas when the toe was out of alignment in that classic bunion shape, I was less than 60 degrees. And you can test it out yourself. Take your index finger, and it's in good alignment, okay? So spread them out, good alignment, and then bring it back. And you can see I get quite a lot of range of motion. Now what I want you to do is I want you to bring it into this collapsed position, similar to a bunion. Okay, now holding the finger inwards, I want you to now lift it up. And you can see that I can barely get the finger straight and pointed straight. Before, I'm able to bend it all the way back, but when it's out of alignment, I'm barely able to get it pointed straight. That's because all that connective tissue that ties around the joint, when we move the joint off axis out of alignment, everything gets tight and you lose range of motion. So optimal alignment is really important to unlock good mobility. Good mobility allows us to get into good positions, in those nice extended positions where we can recruit the right muscle groups and we can move with efficiency without compensations. So this is how it all comes together. Better toe extension improves knee and hip extension, stronger quad and glute activation, and the spine stays neutral throughout the gait cycle. So those are where all the dominoes are stacked nicely, none of them fall, everything is working in proper order. It's crazy that your toes can determine if you have good posture or not, and because toe misalignment affects up to 50% of the adult population, fixing this should be a primary focus for people concerned with correcting their posture. A simple fix for me is, you know what, just wear a pair of silicone spacers whenever you're going to walk. So, or gym, or squat, whatever. Those silicone spacers are passive alignment tools. They help to realign the toes, get that proper toe splay, and now I can unlock all the range of motion that I need, and I'm loading the joints in optimal alignment, so you get less pain and wear and tear over time. So I always tell our Academy members, just wear silicone spacers during your movement. All right. Let's summarize everything. Perfect posture isn't about standing tall with your shoulders back for a moment. It's about maintaining optimal alignment throughout every movement your body makes. And it all starts with your feet. So let's focus on these three fundamentals. Number one, build strong foot arches through targeted strengthening exercises and use arch support only as a short-term bridge while your muscles develop. Two, restore ankle mobility by transitioning to zero-drop shoes, strengthening your feet, and practicing deep squats daily. 3. Restore proper toe splay to maximize arch stability and unlock full triple extension in your gait. Remember, your feet are the foundation of your entire kinetic chain. When they're strong and stable, everything above them can maintain proper alignment. And when they're weak and collapsed, dysfunction cascades upwards through your knees, hips, spine, and shoulders. Fix your feet first and your posture will follow. And of course, if you want help with this, then come to our Barefoot Strength Academy at bfs.fit. The Academy, you come in, you have 10 functional tests. And these tests help to identify all the weaknesses in your body, gives you a holistic overview of where your problems are. You then match those weaknesses with follow-along workouts and educational material. Educational material help you to understand the lifestyle factors that may be contributing to your dysfunctions so that you can fix those, and the follow-on workouts help you address them head on and make those improvements. Over time, you will document your progress, retest, see how far you've come, and you will scale the workouts over time because all our workouts start from a level 1 up to a level 3. So we've built an entire system on how to build a strong foundation through the feet and also the glutes to help you improve your posture, your movement, and remain injury-free. Remember, prevention is better than cure. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and you have any follow-up questions, feel free to let us know down in the description. I look forward to seeing you in the next deep dive. Cheers.